All praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem HaKakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elect to the nation of Israel. So, like, yeah, this is going to be a lesson on this lockdown that's happening over in Shanghai, right? And showing how they're putting up fences, man, right? They're literally keeping people strapped in their house in certain parts with fences. And over in the UK, they have these big tower blocks, right, where loads of people live in them, and it's not difficult for that same process to be implemented wherever them kind of houses are, man. Like that's a hardcore situation to be in, man. To be completely locked into where you live with a gate when these places normally already have gates. Anyway, let me read some of it. It says, Shanghai, you know what word it is next, lockdown. Fences appear around residential buildings to keep people in their homes as strict rules continue. So they've got people literally locked into their house, right? Not unable to come out because there's a fence there, right? And this is prophecy anyway. And we can't be ignorant, man, and say things like, you Israelites, right? Even a 2/3, man, you need to stop being ignorant and saying things like, oh, that's only over there though. Right? That's the words of somebody that's ignorant. And we've already been given a example of how something that's happening somewhere else in the world can quite easily happen where you are in the world in a space of a month or in a space of 2 months. And then how the same exact things that you were seeing happening somewhere else all the way over the other side of the world is now happening where you are. Because these things are not things for just a specific part of the world. This is worldwide. This is a worldwide thing. Hence the term New World Order. And hence the term the Great Reset, man. The Great Reset is a thing that's done by the what's it called, man? The World Economic Forum? So that's a worldwide thing. It's not like, oh, we're gonna do it over this place in the world, but we're not gonna do it nowhere else. It's a worldwide thing, man. And let me read the prophecy on that. It says, it's 2 chapter 15 and verse 1. Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith Yahweh, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. Fear not the imaginations against thee. Let not the incredulity of them that troubled. So like let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee. For all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. Behold, saith Yahweh, I'll bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. And part of the way how famine is being brought is because these people are being locked in their houses. They can't go out to go and shop, right? And all the crops and everything like that is being forced to where people are not allowed to use that as well, man. People are being restricted in the house and not able to come out. Verse 6, for wickedness have exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and the hurtful works have fulfilled. So people are experiencing these things because of wickedness, right? Let me read it again, verse 5. For behold, saith Yahweh, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. For wickedness have exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and the hurtful works are fulfilled. So people are doing madness on the earth to the point where eventually it's gonna be like, okay, that's it. They've did the final thing that they needed to do before I'm bringing the full destruction upon them. Verse 7. Therefore saith Yahweh, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness, which they profanely commit. Neither will I suffer them in those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves. Behold, the innocent and righteous blood crieth unto me, and the souls of the just complain continually. And therefore, saith Yahweh, I will surely avenge them, and receive unto me all the innocent blood from among them. Behold, my people and that innocent blood is the elect. Let me just say that. Verse 10, behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. I will not suffer them to now dwell in the land of Egypt. And it's really the 2/3 that's going to be led as a sheep to the slaughter, because the elect, we understand what's being prepared, man, and we're trying to prepare, which I'm not saying that I'm of the elect, but I'm saying the people that are hoping to be of the elect. Let me say it that way. The people that are hoping to be of the elect are preparing spiritually for these things that are going to come, so that they are knowing that no matter what happens, to have faith in the Lord, to have faith in Yahweh, to have faith in Yahweh Shai when these things come upon the earth, and understand and have faith that He's going to help us from whatever situation we end up in. Verse 11, but I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, and smite Egypt with plagues as before, and will destroy all the land thereof. And that's talking about, that's the same thing that's mentioned, the same event, the same prophecy that's mentioned in Revelation 18, where Babylon the Great gets completely destroyed. And in Revelation 11th chapter, it mentions a place that spiritually is called Egypt and Sodom. And that's the same Egypt that's being mentioned here. Verse 12, Egypt shall mourn, and all the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plague and punishment that God shall bring upon it. Because He's bringing a lot of wrath, man. All the things that you're seeing happening everywhere else, it's going to be the worst in America, because America's sins have reached unto the heavens, which is Babylon the Great. Verse 13, they that till the ground shall mourn, for their seed shall fail, the blasting and the hail, and with a fearful constellation. And you're already seeing evidence of this happening in China. So why can't it happen in America, when America has less exports than China does? America produces less than the country of China. So if it can happen one place in the world, then it can happen in another. And it's only pride that makes you think that you're invincible and that things can't happen to you. And America, which is also known in the scriptures as the virgin daughter of Babylon as well, is not going to be a virgin no more when the evils come upon her. All right? There's going to come a time where the evils come upon America, man. Let me carry on reading. Verse 12, Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plague and punishment that Yahweh will bring upon it. They that till the ground shall mourn, for their seed shall fail through the blasting and hail, and with a fearful constellation. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands. So civil wars getting ready to be enacted out on the earth, man. Civil wars coming to the earth. People are going to be completely losing their mind, acting crazy as hell, and being really evil to each other, man. A lot of evil and a lot of anger and a lot of violence is about to be pushed out on the earth, and all these people are going to be fighting against each other with swords in their hands, man. And it means real swords and a modern day sword, which is guns, man. People are already violent to each other. Just look at the website, Salakia. Look at the website worldstarhiphop.com. That website has nothing but people being violent to each other. People diving through the drive-through window because they ran out of chicken nuggets. People beating each other up because someone stepped on their new shoes. People beating somebody up because they're drunk. People fighting over toilet roll. Right? If people will fight over toilet roll and will fight over petrol, then how much more will they fight over for things that they need to be alive? Right? People is losing their mind over petrol. You don't need petrol. You might say you need petrol to put in your car. No, you don't. You don't need petrol to be alive. That's a luxury. But food is not a luxury. It's a necessity. Water. Water is a necessity. Daily bread things are a necessity. You need clothes on your back. You need food in your belly. You need water. And you need a roof over your head to cover shame. But all of these things are going to soon be scarce, man. And people are going to be fighting against each other. And people think that the lockdowns happening in Shanghai is a singular case or an isolated event. But it's something that's going to happen everywhere. Verse 16, for there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. So people that are living in these apartment complexes, let's go back to it, right? It says China zero blank, I can't say the word, policy has hurt its most important economic city, also causing people to lose wages, families to be separated, and many residents to run short of food and other supplies. So what do you think these people are doing that live in these places? If they've run out of their food and they know that their neighbours got some, what do you think is probably happening in some of these places? They've been cordoned off. Fend for yourselves. You can't get no food, right? So what do you think some of these people are doing around here? Some people might be being generous and sharing their food with others, and some people might be sharing their food out of fear, and some people might be stealing food, man. Because people are already not friendly, people are already not polite to each other, people are already thieves, people are already backstabbers and false witnesses, people are already sneaky. So how much more when it's like this, man? How much more people are going to amplify that when they need it to feed their belly? And they'll justify it in their mind, well, I had to do it because I needed to eat. It was me or him. It was me or her. You see? Let me carry on reading. It says, authorities in Shanghai have fenced off some apartment buildings as the Chinese city continues to endure a strict lockdown. Many of the city's 26 million people have been forced to stay home under China's zero blank policy, with fences up to 2 meters high being erected around housing buildings and some streets being closed off entirely. On Saturday now, some countries and some places are more submissive and are more zombified to listen to what they're being told in other places. And that's why these are the places that these things get pushed on first. Because they know if they push this kind of stuff in some other places, that there'll be problems, a bit more likelihood of problems occurring. So they take, when it really goes down, they're going to take certain places down one by one. So you might hear about one city being put under lockdown, right? Then you'll hear about another city being put under lockdown, but they're not going to necessarily try and put everyone under lockdown at one time because it's too difficult to do that. So it makes more sense for them to try and do it one place at a time, man. And in certain places where things are really bad, they just leave the people to fend for themselves and cordon them off so that they can, if somebody tries to get to a certain point where they don't want them to be, they'll have their military or whatever set up, man, to keep people cordoned off into where they want them to be. They plan for stuff like this. That's why when they had the riots, over here in the UK, they knew what certain streets to block off and stop people from getting through, to force them into a certain area, man. Like rats in a maze, Let me carry on reading. 2 meters high being erected around housing blocks and some streets being closed off entirely on Saturday. Photos of the fences were posted on the social media platform Weibo, and some users reacted angrily, which of course people are going to react angrily to that. It says one wrote, "This is so disrespectful of the rights of the people inside, using metal barriers to enclose them like domestic animals." But soon they're going to be tagging people with a device in their hand or in their forehead like they do domestic animals. Didn't they do it on domestic animals first? Didn't they make it mandatory when you've got a certain pets like cats or dogs, that you have to give them a certain device? It's literally been made mandatory for your pets. So why wouldn't you think that eventually, when they look at you like that anyway, why wouldn't they make it mandatory for you? Here we carry on reading verse 17. A man shall desire to go into second chapter 15, verse 17. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, for because of their pride the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. So the reason why this is going to be happening is because people are hungry, man. People can handle most things, man. People can handle losing their job. They can handle certain things, right? But when money's involved, right? That's what I mean. When hunger's involved, that's when people get to their most carnal, man. People can handle most things in this world, but start being hungry and starving is a thing that most people cannot bear to deal with, man. Right? You can have the most loving related couple, but make them hungry, and you'll realize that now they're fighting back and forth between each other. Now that love that they had between each other is not gonna be there anymore. You see what I mean? You can have two friends that they would have normally did anything for each other, but hunger will make them friends betray each other, man, and be looking at each other like enemies. They'll become enemies and be prepared to slay their brother with the sword. They won't care about no ransom. They won't care in that time. They won't care, man. They'll be prepared to do whatever's necessary to hurt and harm that person. They won't care at all. Let me carry on reading. 2 Ezra chapter 15 and verse 19. Again, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbour, or shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. So people are not going to care in that day when these things go down, and they're really not going to care. They might come to their senses after their belly's full. Oh, what did I do? What have I done? You know? But when they're doing these things, they're not going to care at the time. And then when they do find a bit of food or whatever, they're going to be selfish because they're going to be like, well, I don't want to be in the situation of hunger that I was in previously. So now I'm going to have to keep maintaining these evils that I did in order to keep on staying out of that position, man. And there's even going to be cannibalism too. Cannibalism's a curse in the scriptures, right? And that's going to be something that's going to be put upon all these people. Let me read it. Let me see if I can find that. Salakia. Trying to see if I can find that scripture. This is Isaiah, Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 57. And toward her young one that cometh out from between her feet, and toward her children which she shall bear. In fact, let me start up a bit. Verse 56. The tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set the sole of her feet upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eye shall be evil towards her husband, the husband of her bosom, and towards her son, and toward her daughter, and toward the young one that cometh out from between her feet. So you know what that's talking about, right? And toward her young children which she shall bear, for she shall eat them for want of all things secretly in the siege and straitness, wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee in the gates. And this has happened in the past to the Israelites, right? It happened during the time of King Solomon, right? He mentioned that there was the two women that they boiled one son. And then when it came time to boil the other one, the woman ran away because she came to her senses, right? And it's going to happen again. It happened during the time of the Babylonian siege of the Israelites. And it's going to happen again, man. People are going to do that. Because the curse is going to be brought upon the earth now, on the world now. Not just upon the Israelites. And it's going to be a changing over of the curse passing over to these heathen nations and away from us. But we've just got to go through one more, the Jacob's trouble, before we can be free from punishments ever again, man. And it's going to be horrible what's going to be happening. Even if you are of the elect, the things that you're going to see and the things that you're going to make it through are going to be horrible, man. It's going to be horrible. And a lockdown is going to be the least of people's worries. They're going to wish that there was back in these times now. These times now are going to be looking like the kingdom of heaven to these people when they're experiencing the things that are going to be happening to them. They're going to be wishing that they was back in these times now. They're going to hate that these times are gone when they experience what's coming. And I'm going to end the lesson there, man. The Shanghai lockdown, don't think that that's just an isolated event, because it can quite easily come over to where you are too. And I'm going to end the lesson there. All praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Makar Kodash. Double honesty to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. And Shalom to the elected nation of Israel. Shalom.